Chosen one. A new economic and spiritual alignment is being declared. According to a growing movement within spiritual circles, there is a current shift underway described not only as financial encouragement, but as a call to divine stewardship. Central to this message is the concept of a sacred wealth contract, an idea rooted in faith-based principles that reframe wealth not as material indulgence, but as purposeful responsibility. This script explores what is being termed a covenant, a spiritual commitment between the individual and divine order meant to trigger provision, eliminate lack, and activate what some call kingdom-level abundance. Unlike motivational slogans or prosperity rhetoric, this message positions wealth as an assignment, not an accident. Traditionally, wealth discussions have been segmented into materialism or religious critique. However, this narrative challenges both perspectives by presenting wealth as a tool of influence and legacy rather than a personal luxury. The spiritual framework presented here aligns abundance with responsibility. Wealth, under this model, is not a prize, it is a provision with purpose. At the core of this claim is a bold assertion. Individuals are being called into a divine agreement to break cycles of lack and scarcity. This contract is not described as a financial product but as a spiritual appointment. It is emphasized as time-sensitive, requiring active participation, not passive observation. The call is not just for belief, but for acceptance. Delay is equated with denial. The window to enter this alignment is characterized as urgent, a moment not to be dismissed. Those who resonate with this message are urged to take conscious, faith-aligned steps toward receiving what has been prepared for them. Across various global and local communities, financial stress remains one of the most pervasive concerns. High inflation, increasing debt, and job insecurity continue to affect households regardless of background. In this message, spiritual alignment is presented as a parallel, if not foundational, response to these economic challenges. Rather than merely addressing the surface-level issues of finance, this perspective views debt as both practical and spiritual in nature. It is said to affect not only bank balances, but also mental clarity, personal confidence, and long-term vision. By approaching it from a spiritual framework, debt is not just reduced, it is resolved with finality. This idea repositions financial relief as a complete release. The promise here is not of temporary pause, but permanent closure. No lingering anxieties, no accumulating interest spiritually or economically. According to this message, divine intervention can close accounts that have remained burdensome. For years, it's acknowledged that for many, the journey has included seasons of lack. Bank accounts have run dry. Bills have mounted. Financial uncertainty has felt persistent. However, in this message, those seasons are not interpreted as evidence of failure, but as preparation. This is where spiritual language intersects with resilience theory. Being broke, as framed here, was not a disqualification. It was the foundation upon which a new structure is being built. The implication is that financial struggle may have formed character, not diminished it. According to the narrative, hardship exposed inner endurance, scarcity revealed strategy, emotional fatigue gave rise to quiet strength. Now, individuals who remained faithful and grounded during those periods are being positioned for resource expansion, rather than associating financial breakthrough with mere luck or timing. The shift is presented as a logical next step in a divine process. Faithfulness in limitation, it argues, has earned trust for overflow. A critical point is made about the nature of this opportunity. It is not a financial transaction in the traditional sense. This is defined as a covenant, a spiritual bond initiated by divine intention and sealed through personal agreement. Unlike a temporary financial windfall or isolated assistance, this covenant carries long-term implications. It is said to restructure thinking, reshape priorities, and re-establish identity. It emphasizes that receiving wealth is not about deserving, it's about stewarding. The individual is not seen as a recipient of charity, but as a partner in purpose. This covenant aims to reframe how resources are managed, used, and viewed. Under this framework, the wealth contract is more than income, it is inheritance. And that inheritance comes with structure, not simply status. One of the more significant claims within the spiritual economic message is that the change does not stop with the individual. What's at stake is not just personal breakthrough, but the dismantling of long-standing generational limitations. Debt, poverty, and scarcity are described not just as financial realities, but as inherited patterns, what some may call generational cycles. According to this view, divine abundance is not just about freedom from economic hardship, but about shifting the trajectory of an entire family line. The message is direct. The struggles faced by parents and grandparents are not yours to inherit. You are not assigned the burden of lack. Instead, your role is to break those cycles and replace them with stability, growth, and long-term provision. This vision casts the individual as a generational strategist. You are not only breaking the mold, you are laying the blueprint for what follows. The concept of financial increase is often viewed through a secular or entrepreneurial lens. However, this message places spiritual emphasis on the financial story itself. The bank statement, the turnaround, the breakthrough, these are not described as merely impressive. They are viewed as testimony. Your financial outcome is said to reflect not just diligence, but divine activity. It bears witness to favor, strategy, and restoration. And this testimony, it's asserted, speaks louder than traditional religious expression. It shows what happens when spiritual alignment meets economic order. This idea also reframes money not as a master, but as a tool. Wealth under this structure is not idolized, it is mobilized. It becomes an extension of mission, not an object of obsession. The message goes further by distinguishing between basic compensation and full restoration. Compensation is described as what is returned after loss. Restoration, however, involves multiplication, receiving not just what was lost, but what was prepared all along. This perspective implies that every setback, delay, or lost opportunity is not simply recoverable, it is convertible. Relationships that ended, deals that failed, money that disappeared. All of it is said to be within the scope of divine reimbursement. And this reimbursement includes interest, not in literal finance terms, but in the expansion of opportunity, wisdom, and influence. Heaven, as the message frames it, keeps accurate records. Nothing is missed. No seed sown in faith time, energy, prayer, or money goes unnoticed. A transition is described, from private struggle to public visibility. The seasons where individuals served, sacrificed, or built in silence are no longer seen as wasted. Those were periods of growth, development, and testing. Now it is being asserted. The stage is being set. Not for celebrity, but for assignment. Not for attention, but for alignment. According to this interpretation, being unseen for a time was not punishment, it was protection. Growth needed space, and visibility needed timing. Now, however, the veil is lifting. The contribution that was once hidden is becoming recognized. Again, the emphasis is not on ego, but on execution. You are not being noticed for popularity. You are being positioned for purpose. A significant part of the message pivots from financial stability to territorial advancement. That includes property, assets, and long-term holdings. Ownership is being presented as more than acquisition. It is legacy management, whereas many have grown accustomed to renting. Not only physically but metaphorically, the message reclaims ownership as a birthright. This is not just about owning homes or land. It's about shifting from temporal to permanent, from borrowed to built. The concept of territory includes generational inheritance. Decisions made now, contracts signed, land acquired, partnerships built will impact not just your income, but your lineage. Your children and their children will inherit not just what you possessed, but how you thought, how you structured, and how you stewarded resources. A distinct feature of this narrative is the introduction of divine partnerships. This includes not only spiritual assistance, but what's termed angelic investment. While metaphorical in one sense, this implies practical outcomes, unexpected collaborations, influential allies, and doors that open without traditional effort. The claim is that assistance is being released, connections you didn't request, support you didn't plan for, and resources you didn't predict. These experiences, often framed as coincidences or strokes of luck, are being identified here as intentional spiritual coordination. You are not operating alone. You are operating under divine orchestration. In this context, professional meetings, investor interest, and platform opportunities are described not as results of self-promotion, but as a reflection of divine strategy. A key mental shift is emphasized here, moving from scarcity to structure. Where once the goal may have been survival, the invitation now is for strategy. You're no longer called to simply escape lack. You're called to manage overflow. This includes practical frameworks, budgeting, systems, revenue streams, but also internal recalibration. It requires shifting from hustle to wisdom, from unpredictability to precision. God, according to the message, is not simply releasing wealth. He is releasing infrastructure. Not just money, but models. Not just prosperity, but purpose. This is not a call to abandon faith. It is a call to pair it with diligence. Divine insight must be matched with strategic implementation. Current message being shared across faith-based communities centers around a spiritual economic realignment. Individuals who have long struggled with scarcity, inconsistency, or debt are now being positioned, according to this framework, for transformation into agents of financial influence, strategic leadership, and generational stewardship. What follows is a closer look at how this transition plays out practically through entrepreneurship, divine acceleration, strategic investment, and legacy development. A major emphasis in this message is the concept of divine entrepreneurship. This is not about opportunism or chasing trends. It's about building value-driven ventures aligned with a higher purpose. According to the spiritual guidance being offered, those stepping into this wealth covenant are not merely meant to receive funds. They are meant to circulate them. That means launching businesses, managing brands, expanding services, and entering industries not just to compete, but to transform. You are not positioned to follow the market. You are positioned to shape it. Entrepreneurship, in this context, is not merely financial. It is ethical, generational, and kingdom-oriented. You are being prepared not to ask for capital, but to become the source of capital. Your ideas are now currency. Your insight is now value. Your platform is now purpose-driven. And where there was once delay, you are now being RESOU. The idea of divine acceleration features prominently in this framework. This is the concept that spiritual timing can bypass natural timelines. Projects that typically require months of development may come together in weeks. Conversations that would take years to manifest may occur within days. This is not described as skipping steps, but as moving in alignment with divine orchestration. The time you thought was lost is now redeemed. Every setback is now reframed as setup. And rather than being asked to exert more effort, you are being asked to walk with more precision. The acceleration is not powered by hustle, it is powered by alignment. Under this paradigm, favor is doing the work your hands alone could never accomplish. Meetings are being arranged. Clients are arriving. Opportunities are emerging, not as a result of constant striving, but because spiritual momentum has taken hold. Alongside acceleration comes visibility, but with a purpose. You are not being promoted for applause. You are being positioned for impact. The shift from obscurity to visibility is being carefully managed not by popularity algorithms, but by divine calibration. In this next phase, your name may appear in rooms you've never entered. Your work may gain attention from platforms you never applied to. Your story may carry influence beyond your direct reach. But none of this is framed as coincidence. It is execution of a long-prepared strategy. The message stresses that influence must be matched by integrity. That is why the hidden seasons were necessary. Now that visibility is arriving, it is not being driven by spectacle. It is rooted in substance. You are not just visible. You are valuable. And the platform you are receiving is for purpose, not performance. As more resources begin to flow, a critical distinction is emphasized. This is not prosperity for indulgence. It is provision for assignment. Your wealth has a purpose. It is not solely for personal gain, but for strategic giving, community transformation, and capacity building. Under this covenant, money becomes a utility, not an identity. You do not worship it. You wield it. This means you are being given permission to step into overflow, but also responsibility. Generosity is not optional. Stewardship is not conditional. With increase comes impact. Your bank account is no longer a source of stress. It is now a tool of ministry, strategy, and expansion. The message also shifts from receiving help to becoming help. In this new model, you are not looking for backing. You are becoming the backing. You are now the investor, the donor, the strategic partner. What you once hoped others would do for you, you are now being empowered to do for others. This includes more than just giving. It includes establishing systems, funding scholarships, investing in businesses, underwriting movements. You are not only receiving deposits, you are generating them. You are becoming a financial system. And systems, by nature, are consistent, scalable, and repeatable. This transformation is about more than transactions. It's about legacy. With wealth comes the need for wisdom. According to this spiritual framework, downloads of strategy are now being released. Insight that is not simply creative, but actionable. This is described as supernatural intelligence. It means waking up with clarity, developing business models with precision, identifying the right partnerships without confusion. Decisions are no longer based on guesswork. They're grounded in divine instruction. This part of the message stresses that you will no longer move in circles of indecision. You will no longer waste resources on directionless initiatives. Instead, you will function as a strategist, spiritually grounded and practically effective. Your steps are becoming intentional. Your outcomes are becoming measurable. This is where faith and frameworks intersect, where revelation meets execution, where belief produces blueprint. A mindset shift is also required, moving from desperation to dominion. You are no longer asking permission to progress. You are no longer waiting for validation to pursue vision. The new narrative is one of divine ownership. What was once withheld is now accessible. What once felt unreachable is now assigned. You are being invited to shift language from "I hope" to "I steward," from "I need" to "I carry." The emphasis is on realizing that the breakthrough you were waiting for may already reside within you. You are not looking outward for validation. You are drawing inward for instruction. This change in internal dialogue influences how you lead, how you speak, and how you build. Dominion does not mean arrogance. It means authority under alignment. One of the most affirming elements of this message is the recognition of silent obedience. For many, faithfulness has been expressed quietly. staying consistent in prayer, maintaining integrity in difficulty, giving when it wasn't easy. These acts, although largely unseen, are now being acknowledged as the foundation for the shift now underway. According to this model, your private obedience has unlocked public testimony. You are not being rewarded for performance, but for positioning God as rain falls on your life. Whether in provision, opportunity, or clarity, it is not random. It is the result of every hidden seed sown in consistency. This phase of your life is described not as the start of a journey, but the release of a harvest. The message moves into long-term planning, specifically generational legacy. This is not simply about income. It's about equity, about establishing infrastructure, schools, businesses, land, and institutions that outlast your lifetime. Philanthropy is now redefined as strategy. You are not giving to relieve guilt or feel generous. You are giving because the next generation depends on the structures you build today, that your ceiling becomes their floor. Your struggles become their strategies. You are laying down track for them to run farther and faster. This is not pressure, it is purpose. You are being equipped with what previous generations never had access to. You are not just managing wealth. You are transferring wisdom. There's a renewed focus on divine timing, not in waiting, but in catching up. For years, many have felt left behind, late, or overlooked. But this message asserts that timing is now being compressed. What took others a decade will take you a year. What required multiple introductions will arrive through one divine connection. Time is not your enemy. It is now being stewarded by God to bring alignment. This does not remove process, but it amplifies impact. The encouragement is to move quickly, but not recklessly, to move with clarity, not panic. You are not being rushed. You are being synchronized with a higher timeline, and that means acceleration will be felt, but also managed. A final but vital part of the narrative is the reminder that this season is not solely about you. You are the turning point in a family line. You are the one breaking patterns, establishing truth, and redefining the legacy of your name. What previous generations endured, poverty, trauma, fear ends with you. And what begins with you is not temporary. It is long-standing. It is structured. It is generational. This is not about personal breakthrough. It's about family advancement. It's about transforming the soil, not just enjoying the fruit. You are replanting the foundation for everyone connected to your lineage. You are not a mistake. You are a marker. Your decisions carry generational consequence. And now, your faith is fueling generational freedom. As the message concludes, the call to action becomes clear. This is no longer a season for passive reflection or tentative consideration. It is a time for full agreement with what has been placed in front of you. You are not being urged into impulsivity, but into responsibility. Divine resources are present. Structures are ready. Support is active. What remains is your willingness to step forward. There is no demand for perfection, only obedience. No requirement for expertise, only faithfulness. You are not being pushed to build alone. You are being partnered with from heaven. And the contract is not performance-based. It's alignment-based. You are not under pressure. You are under preparation. But the moment has arrived, and the direction is forward. The Wealth Covenant is not a myth. It is a mission. Not a fantasy, but a functional blueprint. And now, it's your turn to accept it. As this message on divine financial transformation reaches its conclusion, one key truth remains. Wealth in this context is not merely about financial gain. It is about identity, purpose, and sustained alignment. With a larger mission, this final segment focuses on what happens next. What do you do after receiving the message? After clarity has been granted? After provision begins to flow? The response, according to this spiritual model, is not just gratitude but commitment. Not just inspiration but implementation. The opportunities before you are not hypothetical. They are described as real, measurable, and time-bound. You are standing in a moment that requires participation, not observation. In spiritual language, this is known as a divine appointment. Something orchestrated outside of your control but designed for your benefit. It arrives without warning and will not linger indefinitely. You've heard the message. You've seen the alignment. Now, the instruction is clear. Move forward. Not based on fear of missing out, but based on trust that you are being invited into a long-term transformation. You are not simply receiving wealth, you are entering a new rhythm. This is a new normal. One of the most common barriers to breakthrough is hesitation, doubt, overanalysis, waiting for every detail before taking the first step. But the framework presented here insists that clarity comes through obedience, not before it. The next level of provision, wisdom, and connection is unlocked through action. Spiritual alignment requires movement. Whether it's launching a new idea, making a strategic shift, or taking a leap of faith, you are no longer being asked to wait. You are being asked to walk. Hesitation closes doors. Obedience opens them. Another critical shift is identity. For years, you may have identified with struggle, limitation, or delay. It shaped how you saw yourself and what you believed was possible. But this message closes that chapter. You are now being asked to live as a steward, a manager of provision, a distributor of purpose. You are not poor in spirit, strategy, or resource. You are well equipped, even if you're still learning. This doesn't mean you have all the answers, but it does mean you have enough to begin. And more importantly, you are supported by a spiritual structure that ensures your work is backed by divine intelligence. This is not survival. This is structure. This is sustainability. As resources begin to shift in your favor, the call is to approach them with clarity and intention. This is not a time to abandon principles. It's a time to apply them at a greater scale. That means budgeting, yes, but also strategic investing, intelligent giving, and legacy thinking. It means seeking counsel, forming partnerships, building systems. The same discipline you used in struggle will be your asset in stewardship, because wealth without wisdom evaporates. But when purpose guides decisions, abundance becomes scalable. You are not being asked to pretend you know everything. You are being called to use what you know and grow from there. While this message is focused on personal transformation, it ends with a wider lens. This shift is not just about your life. It is about the people you're called to influence. Your increase has implications, whether in your community, your family, or your professional network. You are now positioned to be a stabilizing force, a builder, a bridge, a restorer of systems. The breakthroughs you experience are not meant to isolate you. They are meant to mobilize you, to lead by example, to empower others with tools, ideas, and compassion. This is how spiritual economics works. Provision is never private. It's designed to ripple. The final point is one of encouragement and accountability. The spiritual contract described throughout this message is still open. The invitation remains, but the responsibility to accept it is yours. No one else can make the decision for you. No one else can say yes on your behalf. And while divine timing is precise, it is also temporary. This is not pressure. It's permission. Permission to step out of delay. Permission to walk into a new structure. Permission to prosper with purpose. You are not waiting on another sign. This message is your sign. Wealth is no longer a distant dream. It is a living possibility, one rooted in divine order, integrity, and long-term strategy. You have been seen. You have been equipped. And now, You are being activated. The next steps are yours to take. Will you build? Will you lead? Will you steward the provision assigned to your purpose? If so, welcome to your new era of divine responsibility. Your wealth journey aligned, accountable, and activated begins now. If this message resonated with you, if something within you shifted, realigned, or awakened, don't let this moment pass you by. This wasn't just a video. This was a divine appointment, a message meant specifically for those who are ready to break the cycle of struggle and step fully into a new dimension of spiritual and financial alignment. You've heard the word. Now it's time to respond with action. First, subscribe to this channel. This isn't about numbers, it's about connection. When you subscribe, you join a growing global community of like-minded individuals who are ready to lead with purpose, steward resources wisely, and live from abundance, not anxiety. This space is for people like you, visionaries, builders, and legacy shapers who are choosing to align with divine timing and live boldly in their calling. Second, like this video if it confirms something you've been praying about or offered. Clarity in the middle of your uncertainty. Your engagement does more than support this platform. It sends a signal that you are in agreement with this message. It's a small act of alignment, but it carries spiritual significance. Third, drop 99 in the comments if you are ready to step into your wealth contract. This number represents divine transition, breakthrough, and alignment with God's will for your life. When you comment, you're not just participating in a thread, you're declaring your agreement with a higher order, signaling that you are ready for the doors to open and the structure to form. And finally, share this message. If you know someone who's been silently struggling, someone gifted, resilient, faithful, yet stuck in lack or self-doubt, this might be the exact moment they've been waiting for. Be the one who helps unlock someone else's breakthrough. Chosen. 1. This is not just a season of information. It's a season of activation. And your next step will shape your trajectory. Let's walk this journey together, fully equipped, fully aligned, and fully ready. Your future has already been signed. 4. Now it's time to step into it. Subscribe, engage, align, and move forward. Your wealth contract begins now. If this message spoke to your spirit and confirmed what you've quietly believed about your calling, don't let this connection end here. Subscribe to this channel and join a global community of visionaries, leaders, and chosen ones who are walking in divine alignment. Here, we share ongoing messages of clarity, strategy, and purpose crafted to help you build, lead, and steward your next season with wisdom. Subscribing ensures you never miss what heaven is speaking next. This isn't just content, it's a movement, and you belong in it.